Welcome to Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness, the podcast for hormone and functional medicine providers who want a thriving, predictably profitable practice and maybe a little less stress along the way. Hi, I'm your host, Jody Lane, and I've worked with lots of clinics in marketing, sales, and business development, and I have seen what works and what doesn't. And here's what I believe. Hormone and wellness care should be available to everyone who wants it. And while providers know the medicine, many struggle with the business side of their cash practice. And that's where I come in. See, this podcast is here to share real strategies, real stories, things you can implement in your practice right away. So I am so glad you're here. Come on, let's go. There, it's Jody from Beyond Hormones, the Business of Wellness. And if you've ever felt like marketing your wellness clinic takes more time than running it, this episode is for you. I have the pleasure of speaking with Jennifer Orechwa, who is the CEO of Salt Marketing, about how to stop spinning your wheels with disconnected marketing tactics and instead create a strategy that works even while you sleep. Jennifer shares her 5-part Salted Edge framework that helps clinics attract, convert, and retain patients using automation, authentic messaging, and systems that actually fit the way you work. If you've ever wondered how to make your marketing simpler and smarter and even more sustainable, this is one conversation you're going to want to take notes on. So go ahead and get your pen and paper out and let's start the show. So welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited to be with this guest today, not a provider, but somebody who's going to provide a tremendous amount of knowledge. This is my friend and colleague, Jennifer Orechwa from Salt Marketing. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Jody?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you for being here today. Why don't
Of
we start
course.
by you just telling us a little bit about Salt Marketing? Like, what do you guys focus on? How long you've been in business, and kind of what are your specialties?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. Salt Marketing is an organic marketing agency. It's built specifically for wellness providers. We help established practices grow through clear messaging, smart strategy, automation, and systems that really work. So our clients include med spas, functional medicine providers, hormone clinics, mental health practices, essentially heart-led businesses that are here to help people feel better and live better. So I started Salt after building and exiting a multi-seven-figure business and realizing that the wellness space desperately needed marketing support that didn't feel like a full-time job. They already have a job running their practice. So I wanted to help practitioners stop spinning their wheels with disconnected tactics and really grow in a way that felt aligned and sustainable.
I love that, heartfelt businesses. I'm totally going to steal that because that is truly what these kind of clinics are,
Mhm.
because they don't take insurance. They didn't probably learn what they do in
Right.
medical school. They had to go back for more training, and they really are led by their hearts. So that's like the mechanics of why you chose wellness. But is there a personal reason for you why you chose wellness as your niche?
Not necessarily. I was in corporate communications for a long time. We focused a lot on the HR space and employee engagement and those sorts of things. So really, honestly, myself and my two colleagues who started the company with me, we wanted to do a 180 from that. So we decided we wanted to go with something that really, a business that really fed our souls as much as it fed our families. And, like we were just saying, wellness providers are some of the most mission-driven people I've ever met. And so they're often overwhelmed by marketing. And I was drawn to it because I really love everyone we work with. I mean, the practitioners we work with are doing life-changing work, but they're often so much stuck behind the scenes, buried in admin work or trying to DIY their marketing. They're on Canva at midnight. And
Right.
hormone clinics in particular, they serve a very specific client with a very real need. But if your messaging isn't clear or your systems aren't working, those people can't find you. And so I wanted to help change that.
Awesome. Sorry, hold on a second. My teamer just popped up. Okay. Okay, yeah, no, that's very, very valid. I love that. And it's true. I mean, they have the easiest job, I think, out of all the doctors because there's education involved. There's a very specific message they could curate, but they just may not know how to do that. So now that you've been working with wellness clinics for a while, what would you say is the most common marketing mistake you see them make?
Ooh. I would definitely, it's probably twofold. One would be focusing on tactics instead of strategy. I mean, I had a conversation with a woman just this morning, and she's like, I've tried all the things, I've done all the marketing things, and I feel for these people because they spend tons of money, they blow their entire marketing budget, and it doesn't produce the leads or whatever that marketer may have promised. And it's no one's fault. They're just not looking at it in a strategic way. They're not building the systems that are going to take that lead and turn that lead into a client, that is going to take that client and turn that person into a raving fan that's going to then continue to bring people back to you. So that's one thing for sure. Another mistake I see is often talking, I call it weeing all over your website, talking about yourself. We do this. We're so great. We have all these credentials rather than talking about the transformation. So I'm a story brand coach. So, we talk a lot about making your client the hero, talking about that transformation that they're undergoing. Clinics talk about bioidentical hormones or pellet therapy, but they forget to lead with what their client really wants. Talk about better sleep, more energy, a clear head, feeling like yourself again. So when you connect the dots between what you do and how the transformation that happens in your client's life, that's when the marketing really starts working.
That's so great. I agree with you. Strategy is so important. And if you don't put that strategy in place before you start executing, it's trial and error. So you don't work with just one type of wellness clinic. You work with lots of different kind of wellness clinics. So how
Mhm.
does your team get prepared to do that strategy? And then what does that onboarding for a new client look like?
So we do a deep dive. Initially, when we start working with whether it's a hormone clinic, whether it's a med spa, we actually roll up our sleeves. We look at their website. We look about how they're ranking locally. Are they, how's that local search looking? How are their Google reviews looking? What's missing on their website? What keywords can we go after? So we look at all of those marketing things in a very holistic sense of how is this affecting your practice? How are you going out to market, and how are you making that work? So that's the first part of our process. Then from there, we often move into messaging because that's where differentiation happens. So having clear messaging that can differentiate you in the marketplace makes sure that you don't look like every other hormone clinic or every other med spa, because these days there's one popping up on every corner. And if there's somebody who's not doing the Botox, they're going to add that to their repertoire soon enough. So it's really important to differentiate yourself. So that's the second piece of the puzzle. But then we set out a roadmap and we have a specific framework that we follow to get going with that. And so that's where we begin and hopefully go through that entire transformation with someone.
So I'm imagining though that's pretty hard for the practitioner to go through that with you. They may not be prepared. So what would you like if you were gonna, let's say I was a practitioner and I'm a hormone clinic owner and you're gonna work with me, what would you tell me to start preparing in terms of understanding who I am, what I want, how I want, what kind of audience I want? Like what would you tell me so that you could do your job the best?
So honestly, that's a fully guided journey with us. When clinics come to us, they don't know those answers. Like I could ask those questions, but they don't know the answers. So for instance, when we start with the story brand messaging, which is highly recommended, and if you haven't read the book, Story Brand is a book by a guy named Donald Miller. It's a 7-part framework. It's very powerful. And so if you haven't read that, I highly recommend reading it just in terms of how it frames up how you approach the marketplace. It tells you how to take yourself to market better. Most people don't know the answers to those questions. And they can even read the book. There's storybrand.ai where you can try and get your brand story off of that. It still ends up falling flat. And so that's a guided journey with me. I have a very specific intake process that I go through. I ask a whole lot of pointed questions, and they're not just questions about your practice. They're also questions about your goals, your hopes and your dreams and your vision. Whether you are saying, I want to build a legacy here, I want to build an asset that I can sell, or you're saying, I want to grow this to multiple locations. Everybody's vision for what their practice can be is different. And so we dig into that and we let that guide us in terms of how we explain who we are and what we can do for people.
That's so smart. I was on your podcast and we talked
Uh-huh.
about this because what's the first question people ask about marketing? How much? How much should
Hmm.
I be spending? What should my budget be? And us marketers, we can't answer that question until we know what their goals are. So I love that you go through that process with them. And yeah, Donald Miller, he has a way of stating what he wants you to get in such a simple way that you really, really understand. That's amazing. Do you guys have like a particular type of framework after you get started? Like, so I got the onboarding, that's the strategy you do with them, but do you have a particular framework or is it kind of custom for each clinic depending upon what their goals are?
No, we have a very specific framework. I talk a lot about, most people come to me and they're like, I need more leads. I need more people in the door. And to me, and we talk about all the metrics and all the things you can measure that get you to the point of success. But truthfully, the only metric that matters is revenue. Feet in the door, money in the bank. And so that's the metric that we look at. When we talk about the framework and the system that we go through, we have a 5-part framework we call it the salted edge framework, edge like on the edge of your glass. So we talk about this. And so the first piece of that is attracting. So leads, generating leads, and making sure that we're following up with them properly, having the systems in place where if somebody's brain fog is keeping them up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're Googling, a hormone practice and they come on your website, you don't have to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning answering their
Right.
questions because your automation and your systems are going to do that for you. So attract is the first piece of that framework. The second part of that framework is convert. How do we take those leads and turn them into paying clients? How do we get them in the door? And most of the practices we work with are very good at what they do. So if they are able to have a conversation with someone, that person converts naturally. So it's just how do we get them to the point of coming in and having that conversation? And then the third piece of that is creating raving fans. And this piece of it that's where the magic really happens. When you have created such an army of raving fans that they are writing reviews, giving referrals, and it just acts as a flywheel and it just comes back. All that love comes back to you. So the fourth piece of that puzzle is our automation piece, where we take everything that's working in those first three phases and automate everything that we can. We want to make sure it works first before we start automating. And then the fifth piece of the framework is measure and scale. So we look at your metrics, what's working, how do we tweak, how do we modify to get to the point where you can scale whatever that looks like for you. Scaling to some people is, I want to be on a beach somewhere. I want someone else doing the work. So, it depends on what scale looks like for you, but that's where we get to in that fifth phase. And every one of those phases is cumulative. It builds on each other. So, and we found that works really well.
I love that you do everything manual and learn before you automate.
Mm-hmm.
So many people don't do that. They want to immediately go to how do I work less, make more?
Yes.
But just because you're working less and you may not be making more. You
Right.
may make as much as you possibly can because you didn't really learn in the process. That's amazing. Do you find, so I talked to a lot of clinics, obviously. Do you find that lately, like in the last year, it's harder to get leads on the phone?
People aren't picking up the phone in general. Whether
Yeah.
you want to call it a generational thing or you want to call it too many telemarketers, people don't pick up the phone in general. What we find is that a multi-channel approach works best. So if someone is interested, we want to make sure that we're sending them email. We want to make sure we're able to text them. People do respond to texting. Can you connect with them on social media? Can you get them to follow you? Can you send a DM? So being able to look at that sort of in a multi-channel way is really the best way to do it. And then sometimes that actually improves the pickup rate on the phone because they recognize your name, or they're truly interested in what it is that you have to do because they've educated themselves based on the information you've sent.
It's almost like you're encouraging the prospect to retarget themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
you're communicating in all these different ways, which is what retargeting is, right? When you connect with something and then it continues to follow you around.
And
And
it's an
it's
educational
working.
process too. It's
Yeah.
definitely, as that person is learned, because oftentimes, if we talk about somebody who's at top of funnel, they are Googling their symptoms. They're Googling the things that they're experiencing. They don't necessarily know what the solutions are just yet.
Right.
And so if you help them through that educational process and you are the resource that actually helps them learn what it is that's going to solve that problem, that's what really makes that connection and creates that raving fan that we're always looking for.
Do you find that there is a particular marketing tactic that works better than others, or do you have to kind of try everything for the particular that clinic and see what happens?
We have specific things that we do regularly, and almost all of them have to be tweaked in the end. We are an organic first agency, so we talk a lot about content. We talk a lot about making sure that you are the resource, you are the trusted authority for what it is that you do in your specialty. Get your messaging right, get your content right. So that may look like, so content can look like a variety of things. It can look like a blog. Some people have said blogs are dead. Blogs are not dead. So having that content out there so that Google will help you find the people and help the people find you. But that might also look like video. You might want to do a podcast. So it looks like different things for different people, but the core principles are the same. The foundations that we lay are the same. No matter which thing is going to work best with your audience, we can go for those core principles.
So you said a lot of different things. There are options. I know from experience that a lot of smaller clinics, they don't have money. They don't really have so they need to spend a little bit so that they can make a little bit so they can reinvest back. So what are
Mm-hmm.
some of the low cost or even no cost things that you can work with them on to kind of get that ball rolling?
Yeah, so client stories, being able to show that transformation is a great one. Reviews are gold, working on your Google reviews and making sure that you are responding to those, making sure that you are asking for those. We can definitely automate that ask after someone has an appointment. We can automatically follow up, and those cost nothing. There's no cost to that. Asking for a short testimonial, a video testimonial after a great appointment, that builds credibility, it builds trust, it builds authority in the marketplace. Strategic collaborations are another one. We just had a really good article on our blog all about community events and doing that for your community. It came out of a conversation I had with one of our clients about, if I get one more request for a Little League sponsorship, I'm going to tear my hair out. I get that. I mean, I do understand that because then you look at it and you're like, well, is that really producing a return on my investment? And so we were talking very much about things that you can do in the community that don't cost anything. So, for instance, putting together a wellness fair and being able to bring together several practices that do similar adjacent things and providing that as a benefit. All of you get exposed to each other's audiences. It's free. All it takes is your time. So things like that, collaborations are definitely a powerful way to do that. Offering referral perks, showing up in Facebook groups, wherever your ideal client is, all of these are low or no cost ways to grow your reach and your visibility.
I personally love events, especially for the wellness industry, because not everybody understands hormones. Not everybody understands what acupuncture can do. Like there's a
Right.
lot of different aspects of the wellness industry that people just don't know. So if you're going to do an event with a client, what do you do to promote that event? How do you make sure that the people, are coming in for it?
So when you talk about promoting an event, I don't necessarily, I mean, of course you want to talk about the event, when it is, where it is, all those specifics, but talk about the transformation. What will you walk away after this event knowing or doing differently? Make the follow-up kind of automatic. Make sure that they register when they come in. Oftentimes we've got a clinic that's doing a grand open on Saturday, and we're making sure that they've got an iPad and they've got a guest book, and everybody's going to sign the guest book. So we have, a thank you email ready to go out after that. If we do a virtual event, we always want to share the replay. So we want to talk about the transformation, and this is what you're going to get or walk away with at the end. You can also offer a very easy next step. Come to the event and book your free consult.
Mhm.
So get them to come to the event, they get immersed into your universe, and they can also book a free consult while they're there. Yeah, if you wait for people to reach back out to you after an event, then it's kind of lost. So promoting about the transformation and being able to give them those next steps, that's a story brand tenet. A confused mind does nothing. So they're not going to make a decision if you don't tell them this is what I need you to do next.
Well, I want to highlight something you just said because a lot of people don't think about this. They may know the mechanics, do something, follow up afterwards. But what I think I heard you say was you create the follow up before the event.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because once the event's over, like you're tired, it was a lot of work, and then you go back to your regular routine of seeing patients or whatever it is that you're doing, and it's hard to get time to go back and do that.
Yeah. And we always, it's the old Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind, right? So we want to make sure that what is it we want people to do? Yes, we're having this fantastic event. We're all going to share our audiences. We're going to promote this. But if we don't think about what we want in the end, I want more leads, I want more consults, then we're never going to get there. So work towards that goal all along.
Do you think that your clients understand that? I mean, you start off by saying that leads is what they want, but revenue is what they need.
Mhm.
I think is great, and I agree with that. But do you think that they have a difficult time realizing that sometimes the lead needs to be nurtured, even for a month, 6 months, a year, and they're okay with that time it takes?
So I think most practitioners know that. It is the having the time and the bandwidth to do it. So that's where we start talking about the systems and the processes that you need to put in place. If you've got somebody in your office that can do that kind of follow up for you, fantastic. If you don't, if you're a solo practitioner or you're doing it all your own, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's really important to build those systems and put those in place so that you are able to do that follow up without it being a heavy lift for you. And so we build out automations, and we have a short term, like a welcome campaign. And so that's, we want to get them to convert quickly because obviously strike while the iron is hot. If they don't, we have a 6-month campaign that goes after that. And it's very specific to the practice. We also do a lot of segmentation at the front, so we know exactly which services they're interested in. So those long-term nurture sequences are specific to their needs and their wants. And so it just nurtures them and loves on them all along. We send text messages, we send email. You always want to invite those people to your events if you're having community events. All those sorts of things are what makes somebody go, you know what, I do need to move forward with this.
And I gotta tell you, sometimes personnel is not the real issue. I mean, the clinic that I ran, we had 23 employees. We had plenty of staff, and automation systems still is what made it possible for those follow-ups to happen. So whether you're a solo practitioner or you've got
True.
a huge staff,
Yeah.
I do think that those automations are key. Can you tell us a little bit about a client that you had a really big success with, like what you did and what they got out of it, and just like share a little love?
So I have a functional medicine practitioner who I love, and he has done all the things. The practice itself is close to 2 decades old, but they were still struggling to grow. They had sort of flatlined. They went back and did a lot of business process mapping. How do people come in? What do we do with them next? So they mapped all of that out, built a whole new website. We're dabbling in social media. But one of the things that they did that was crucial was defined their ideal client profile. And so wanting to elevate who they were working with was a big objective. And so we started with story brand messaging. We did an overhaul of their message and built that out on the website. We made sure that all of that was optimized for search, both local search and just in general search. We set up automated email campaigns. Keep is my preferred CRM for automation. It is the Cadillac of automation. And we created content that really spoke directly to that new ICP that they had defined. And so within a couple of months, they were booking 30 plus new qualified patients, not leads, actually booking patients. It wasn't really magic. I mean, it's strategy, it's systems, it's consistency. It's knowing that you can't just keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks. You've got to have the systems and the processes in place.
Yeah, consistency.
Yep.
Really do agree with that. And I also think, and this is why one of the reasons, I loved when we met and I learned that you focus just on wellness clinics, because I do think that the days of the big marketing agency that could handle any industry is kind of gone. Like if you are not a subject matter expert or at least subject matter knowledgeable with what your clients do, it's really difficult to create those messages that make an impact. Do you agree?
I agree. And I think that wellness practitioners are different. We can draw parallels between different kinds of wellness practitioners and the things that they do. But when you talk about how you go to market with what you're offering, you are very different than somebody who's selling an e-commerce product. You are not the same as that. And so when you go to an agency that says, I'm a jack of all trades and I can do everything, you're not going to get the specific strategy that you really need. They're going to try and apply cookie cutter strategies that they say, oh, this works across all industries. And that isn't necessarily true. And I think wellness practitioners specifically really want someone who understands this industry, and they want someone who understands the heart and the soul that goes into this. It's different than other industries.
Yeah, and the hidden truth that most people don't think about is when you do work with an agency that doesn't understand the hormones or like whatever the vertical is, you end up doing a lot more work, you being the
Hmm.
client, because
Hmm.
that their copywriters use ChatGPT at a very surface level to get as much information as they can, and then they send it over to the client, and the client has to rework it because it's not correct. And so you really are doing a big service for yourself and your time and your money by using somebody that knows the industry.
I mean, let's be realistic. We're all using AI at this point,
The
but
difference between using AI to enhance what you know
mm,
is using it to do the work on your behalf.
yes,
At least I think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. Yes.
So let's talk about the exciting thing that your company has done recently,
Mhm.
and that is launched your Salted End membership.
Yes.
Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Salted Edge is our marketing membership program. And again, it's built on that framework that I mentioned before. It is specifically for wellness practitioners who want to grow. And this is sort of like you either have a lack of time or you have a lack of money. And
Yeah.
so if you have the time to apply, the membership is perfect. So it is a resource that includes ready to use templates, done for you, pre built automations for Keep, SEO tools, swipe copy. We have built in AI. So you can go in and say, I want to write an article about this. And the AI that's actually inside the membership will help you do that. It is wellness specific. It has been fed all of the things about this industry that you could possibly imagine. We also offer live coaching calls. So we do coaching calls once a week, bring any questions that people have, that sort of thing. And that it really relies on that full roadmap to attract, convert, and retain clients. It's like having a marketing department in your back pocket without the big price tag. So we've got a lot of resources in there, including a marketing masterclass for those who want to go through that and learn all of the things that is there as well.
So you said people who don't have the money but maybe have a little bit of time. How much time do you think a practitioner would have to invest in order to use the tools in the membership program to its fullest extent?
So when you say to its fullest extent, we have resources that will get you a quick win within 15 minutes. I mean, you can jump in there and you can execute on one of these tools in 15 minutes and see results. Now, if you are talking about putting the entire Salted Edge framework into practice, we're talking about it might be a year is a progressive way of looking at it. And so it's similar to any strategy that we might execute on. You are going to start to install those systems into your practice. You're going to look at the tools. You're going to look at what things work for you. And we do talk a lot about marketing personalities as well, because different practitioners look at it in a different way. Some are very analytical. I want to know the numbers. Some are very creative. Let's try this thing and that thing. None of it is wrong. You just have to look at it from your own. So there's no hard and fast. It's going to take you X number of weeks or days. But there are quick wins in there. And then there are long-term strategic approaches that will get you results.
And you said you do live coaching. So how does
Mhm.
that work? Because I would imagine even if you've got the time, you're going to run into roadblocks.
Yes, and that's exactly what it's designed for. And so we do once a week coaching. It's just by sign up. It's a Zoom call. It's a standing meeting. And so the first Monday of every month we talk about attraction, and the second Tuesday of every month we talk about conversion. And so on and on from there. So we alternate topics each week. Not necessarily do we stay on topic every single week because people really bring what it is that they're stuck with,
Yeah.
and that's really beneficial for everyone in the group though, because when somebody brings something up, they're like, oh yeah, me too. And so those conversations and those coaching calls are really beneficial.
Sounds almost like a mastermind. It's like you're getting
Mhm.
a part of a mastermind when you join the membership. How much is the membership? How does somebody get started with it?
So right now it is $97 a month. We are just getting geared up. So it's only
Oh,
been in place
that's
for
so
it is so cheap. I know, right? It's only been in place for about 3 months now. We've got several people in there. We also have a very robust community. And so the people that are in there are talking to each other and supporting one another with what it is that they're doing. But yeah, our founders rate right now is $97 a month. You can sign up for that at saltmarketing.co/edge. And that price probably will go up as we continue to add resources. There's tons in there now, though. It's a good investment.
So I will make sure to put that link in the show notes. And I will also say that I got the luxury of going behind the scenes and taking a look at the site. And if I promise you, if you're listening to this episode and you think you might be interested in this, go do it because it's well worth more than $97 a month. There's so much in there.
Yeah, we're continuing to add resources all the time. And we're letting everyone who is a member know that those new resources are coming out, particularly with our AI resources that are there for social media posts. We've also got swipe copy for social media posts, including the Canva files where you just go in and grab that and you can post those, very wellness practice specific. So you're not going to go find something generic that just has a picture of a road sign that says success and an arrow. No, we don't do that. So all of that is in there and we are continuing to build it.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Well, we're almost at the end of our time. I stole this idea from my favorite podcast. Did you ever listen to The Diary of a CEO?
I have not heard that one.
Oh, you would love it. So Stephen Bartlett does a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. I absolutely love him. And one of the things that he does is he asks his last guest to leave a question for his next guest, but they both don't know who they are. So I have a question for you from my last guest. And it is, what are the top three things that have made a difference for your business?
Focus on organic content marketing because that is the long tail that gets you those keywords. Those things work whether you're using paid ads or not. So I would say build out content for sure. Making sure that you have differentiation in your messaging. That story brand script, making sure that that is in place and really brings clarity to everything that you do. So a third one, trying to think off the top of my head, I guess I would say automation. The systems that we've put in place that allow us to follow up and segment and personalize and get that automation where it needs to be. I mentioned Keep. That is our favorite platform just because of the flexibility it has and the robust tools that it has around automation. So I would say Keep would be the third one.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, people hear automation, they think stale, they think cookie cutter, and we met at a Keep event. So, we both know that the tool is so robust that you can make those automations look so personal, so one-to-one. That
Absolutely.
if anyone's listening has this imagination or thinks that these automations are not going to be the same as if you went and did a personal text or an email, you're incorrect. You could really do that.
Not just that, but the segmentation is fantastic as well, so that you can really drill into what somebody needs and wants, and not send cookie cutter messages to your entire database. You can actually segment and get to the right things.
It's not easy though. So I will tell you, if you're interested in it, you think you want to do this, go ahead and call Jennifer at Salt Marketing because it's not that easy to build those automations.
And we love it. We have fun with it. We
Yeah.
have that sort of engineer's brain that makes that work. So, yeah.
Well, it's a perfect mix between the messaging and the engineering together. Your clients are so lucky to have you. And I am so lucky to have you on the show today. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us all of your thoughts and insights. And I'm sure people learned something today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jody. It was fun.
Awesome. All right. I will see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Hormones, the business of wellness. I hope that you're walking away with fresh ideas and real strategies you can use to grow your practice with profit and purpose. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show so you never miss a conversation. And if something you heard today resonated with you, do me a favor, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. It's one of the best ways you can support the show, and it might be exactly what they need to hear right now. If you want even more tools and support, go ahead and head over to acceleratedmedicalpractices.com. Until next time, keep doing the work that matters. Your patients need you, and I am cheering you along every step of the way.